Prime Television. My name is Fon Quiter. The news is coming to you live from Douala, the nation's economic capital. I begin today's edition of news with this religious story where Christians in Cameroon today, April 14, 2022, observe Holy Thursday. In the Catholic Church, the priest will perform some rites such as washing of feet, amongst others. Now, our Center regional correspondent Kalelum sought to find out the importance of these days. She caught up with a Reverend Father who expatiates.
Holy Thursday, commemorated by Christians, a day where followers of Jesus Christ celebrates the institution of the Eucharist as the true body and blood of Jesus Christ. On this day, as it will be happening this evening in most churches worldwide and Cameroon inclusive, Jesus will offer himself as the Passover sacrifice.
The period of Lent is a 40-day walk, spiritual walk with Jesus.
How imperative is this day for Christians?
It is a very important day for Protestants and especially Presbyterians because we remember his death, his passion, and we also become penitent and humbled for the very fact that he could wash the feet of his disciples, and we see ourselves not just as servants.
Christians are therefore called upon to draw closer to God, since the world is plagued with numerous predicaments, and thus there is dire need for God's intervention.
Away from religious news, the coordinator of the Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Center for the Northwest Region, Henry Echu, has called on politicians and elites of the region to stop using the center for political motives. This was during a press briefing at the DDR head office in Bamenda, as Charles Akeba, our Northwest correspondent, tells us.
The Northwest coordinator of the DDR in a press briefing with journalists April 12, 2022 at the DDR head office in Bamenda, in which the coordinator of the Northwest Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Center, Henry Echu, outlined his achievements since took over office September 10, 2021, enumerating the strides the DDR has taken up to present moment to some recommendations and appeals set apart of the fact that there is a steady rise of young people into the DDR center. They've also changed the face of the center. Northwest coordinator Henry Echu called on elites and politicians of the Northwest to stop using the center politicking when they've never known where the DDR center in the region is located.
We watch on TV elites of the Northwest talking about peace and peace and peace in the Northwest, and even mentioning the DDR. The DDR that some of them don't even know. The DDR that some of them, the greater majority of them, have never visited, even for a minute.
To the Northwest coordinator of the DDR, Henry Echu, these are politicians playing for the gallery. Said, for in talking peace, need to go closer to the source and actively be part.
Meet the children, meet the ex-fighters there, get the real information. You shouldn't sit in your office. Of course, unfortunately, I have to talk the way I'm talking. Because some elites enter the cars, they come to Matazam, they enter armored cars, come out in front of Ayaba. They sit in Ayaba, talk peace, enter the armored car again in Ayaba, and they are going back to Yaoundé. And when they go to Yaoundé, they are talking of the DDR. They know nothing about the DDR.
He disclosed a project will soon be put in place to encourage those still carrying arms, drop them and join the DDR center.
We are going to soon go down to the nooks and crannies by using the community radios. And those community radios have also involved the governor in the project because we have to use the senior divisional officers and the traditional rulers and the church leaders of all those communities. It is a very broad program.
The Northwest DDR Center, created some 3 years ago, with 290 ex-fighters currently at the center, outlined achievements, has received 68 more ex-fighters who've surrendered their weapons, No strike actions to complain of poor treatment at the center. Ex-fighters no longer go begging on the streets like the case before. A functional infirmary, economic and socio-cultural programs at the center reinforce. Education on basic hygiene and sexual reproduction health enforced. A grade 1 teacher at the center with a payroll that offers lessons to current pupils belonging to ex-fighters, and the ex-fighters, he said, have created a vigilance which helps security take care of their safety. He assured the press corps he will make the press an integral part of the DDR.
Now, the government of Cameroon, through a press release signed by the Minister of Communication, has reacted to the assassination of prison officers in the Northwest region. President Paul Biya has ordered for investigations to be opened following the incident. Nsungkikang completes the story.
Following the terrorist attack on Tuesday, April 12 in Kumbo and Kambe, which cost the life of the Northwest Regional Delegate for Penitentiary and 3 of his collaborators, the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, has addressed his condolences to families of the victims and ordered for investigations to be opened to bring perpetrators to book. In a press release from its spokesperson, government condemned what it terms the cowardly assassination of the regional delegate of the Northwest Penitentiary and 3 of his other collaborators. According to Rene Emmanuel Sadi, the cowardly and barbaric act perpetrated by lawless criminals would not go unpunished. It is for this reason that the President of the Republic ordered for the opening of investigations in order to shed full light on the exact circumstances of the attack. It should be reminded that Mr. Kiga Theodore was killed on his way back from Kambe, where he had attended the installation of the Kambe prison superintendent. However, before this umpteenth attack, several authorities, including the mayor and the divisional officer of Ekondo Titi, were recently assassinated in the Southwest region. Defense and security forces are mobilized to lay hands on the perpetrators of this attack.
The tomato processing company of the Noun, better known by its French acronym SCAN, set up by Coprovid to solve the problem of surplus tomato production on markets, has been totally abandoned despite multiple pleas from the initiators for its revival. Eileen Summer visited the tomato production company and now reports.
This is SCAN, the food processing company in Fumban, Noun division of the West region of Cameroon. The company, which occupies at least 3 hectares of land, was created in 1996 to relieve tomato farmers of the abundance of the production of the vegetable, which always ends up perishing due to the lack of processing companies like SCAN. However, it was shut down and abandoned barely 3 years later in 1999.
La SCAN a été fermée en 1999 par Madame Dame Bilibi.
SCAN was shut down in 1999 by Madame Dame Bilibi Estelle, sent to SNE to manage the company, and she found the SCAN documents on her table abandoned, and she realized that it was a risky venture as Coprovid was in charge of the project. So they changed the initiative because Coprovid was supposed to come up with what was going to transform this company. They used the funds for something else because it was supposed to be an agro-industrial company and not an industrial agro company. So they shut down the company due to these complications, as there was an issue of insecurity with Ghostan back then and salaries were not passing.
Parce qu'en cette période-là, c'était la période des villes mortes. Alors, il y avait un problème d'arriéré de salaire.
Thus, after 3 months of evaluation under the supervision of Coprovid, the Director General of SNI, at the instructions of the Minister of Agriculture, approved the project at the tune of 900 million francs CFA. However, 459 million francs CFA was disbursed to start the project 43 days after the project was launched. The CEO of Coprovid, Mr. Dahiru, further explained that Coprovid called on all members of the department involved in the project who chipped in 214 million francs CFA plus the 27 million francs CFA that Coprovibnon injected into the coffers, as well as others. He spelled it out.
La Coprovibnon a interpellé tous les membres du département qui ont cotisé 214 millions de francs, plus les 27 millions que Coprovibnon a aussi injectés dans la cagnotte. La Kaplanoun a injecté 120 millions de francs CFA. Le CAO a injecté 90 millions de francs CFA. Jimouche Mozi a injecté 10 millions de francs CFA. La société Sotri a injecté 10 millions de francs CFA. Maintenant, il y a eu un poste de trio, ceux qui avaient la moyenne de 5 millions de francs.
Nonetheless, the over 459 million francs CFA from the above-mentioned sources added to 449 million from SNE now summed up to 900 million francs CFA, and it has been over 30 years and nothing has been done in terms of serious action. The authorities of Coprovibnon are now asking the government to reactivate this money into the system that has not been used for over 30 years. Till date, nothing has been done despite many petitions sent to the ministries by Coprovibnon.
The non-profit organization Grass to Grace Humanitarian Foundation in its national toll has begun decorating and recognizing some outstanding Cameroonians contributing to nation building. Doling Gandhi accompanied the team and put together this report.
Shortly after the 10th anniversary celebration of the non-profit Grass to Grace Humanitarian Organization, mission in Cameroon has put in place a prestigious concept called Star Community Hope Giver Accolade, which is a Grass to Grace Courageous Men and Women's Prize award-giving ceremony. The phenomenal prize and humanitarian medal also seeks to spur, encourage, appreciate, and above all, celebrate Cameroonian patriots and heroes who, despite all odds, put the country first in nation building and humanitarian developmental services rendered. And in this light, it has been a moment of excess euphoria for merits like Mr. Ajo, Mr. Niba, Apostle Kula, Mr. Arnold, Dr. Elmin, Dr. Bisong Ogok, who have all exhibited extraordinary love for fatherland. Then came the moment when the tireless and extraordinary humanitarian Sir Stephen Spomi Joseka to receive his own accolade too. The Chief Executive Officer of Strategic Humanitarian Services, Shumas, was pleased receiving his accolade and the humanitarian medal in his Littoral Regional Office based here in Douala, Bonaberi.
I'm really very happy today. When I was informed of this award, I didn't know it was going to be this big. If I knew, I would have preferred, I would have done everything for us to do it at our head office in Bamenda.
Affixing the medal, amongst others, the CEO of G2G, who doubles as a goodwill ambassador beneath the UN C-suite, His Majesty Thomas A. Fotang, aka Patom, says it is high time stakeholders urgently celebrate and appreciate change makers and heroes while they are still alive and not on the contrary.
Courageous Men Prize, the Star Community Hope Giver accolades, we are celebrating, peace and love for a better nation.
The proximity event, dubbed One at a Time, exhibits a slight difference depending on the strength and courage manifested by the awardees in making their nation great again. Organized under the theme Peace and Love for a Better Nation, the organizing committee's head for the prestigious medal and accolade event, a superstar and community hope giver, intends to put smiles on the faces of Cameroonians who have refused to ask what their nation has done for them, but rather putting the country first in their little corners in a bid to make Cameroon great again.
The Minister of Housing and Urban Development has officially launched works for the rehabilitation and tarring of the 6.3-kilometer road in the Gadam, Mabanga and Jalingo neighborhoods in Gaundiri. During the launch, Minister Celestine Keicha urged local authorities to promote urban development in the town. Catherine Kongwe completes the story.
Due to the poor state of roads in the Gadamambanga and Jalingo neighborhoods in the Gaundiri 2 subdivision over the years, which has as well slowed down economic growth and the maintenance of vehicles and motorbikes, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Celestine Keicha, arrived at the town to officially launch a project for the rehabilitation and tarring of a 6.3-kilometer stretch road. This operation, which falls under one of Cameroon's Inclusive and Resilient Cities Development Project, also leads to the construction of several social amenities, which is expected to cost over 3 billion francs CFA.
It's very important to present the project to the population and to call all the population, all actors, to work together in order to make sure that when the company will not be here, population will be able to maintain, because it's very important that the head of state give all this infrastructure to the population, but most important is to maintain.
Minister Celestine Keicha, together with other authorities of the Adamawa region, also visited the Gaundiri low-cost housing facility, where she noticed other developmental issues. She wraps up her visit to the town with a brief meeting, where she took time to sensitize local authorities and the population on the ways to promote urban development in the town of Gaundiri.
Cameroon's Minister of Finance has officially inaugurated a new cargo scanner at the Douala Port Authority. The scanner will facilitate the exportation of goods, as Mwanze Njoyogo tells us.
A fourth cargo scanner has been installed at the Port Authority of Douala. This occasion was chaired by the Minister of Finance, Louis Paul Motaze, alongside the Minister of Communications, Rene Emmanuel Sadi, and other dignitaries. This machine will aid in securing external trade transactions and optimize custom revenue.
To reduce fiscal examination of goods that come in or that leave the country. Because, it takes us about 6-7 hours to inspect a single container, and if we have to inspect, say, 20% of the 400 containers.
Is the first to be installed out of the container terminal of the port, will be used in exportation and comes in to reinforce and keep in check goods meant for exportation and external trade. It will equally determine as to whether a container will need physical examination or not, and will facilitate the identification of harmful equipment into the country.
Our new role, we have to come in within those cycles. We also can identify dangerous goods that can come into the country via this facility.
According to the Director General of Customs, Edwin Fon Quiter, the machine has a 85 to 95% success rate, and 360 persons receive training on optical character reading.
Still ahead, the second edition of the Cameroon Women Football Championship, dubbed Guinness Super League, kickstarts Saturday, April 16, 2022. Players of the 12 clubs of the Division 1 Women's Super League also smile at the increase in their financial package, as announced by Cameroon Football Federation. Emmanuela Moni with details.
According to the program for the launch of the Season 2 of the Guinness Super League, there will be a parade of fan clubs while the match will start at 3 p.m. Women's football, which had long remained in the shadows, will experience a considerable boom. Women players and club presidents will be put forward for a better development, as FECAFOOT's president Samuel Etofis and Guinness, sponsor of the Cameroon Women's Football First Division Championship, are unanimous in their desire to make football in Cameroon shine. Close to 10 million CFA francs will be paid to the clubs. Clubs of the South will receive a financial support of 9 million CFA, and those of the northern regions and Southwest 9.5 million CFA as subsidy. The player's stipend has also been upgraded to 100,000 CFA francs from 50,000 CFA francs last season. While the sponsor is paying 50,000 francs, FECAFOOT will top another 50,000 to make it 100,000 CFA francs. The 5 stadia that will host the Women's League Games are the Nsungkikang Stadium that will host its opening ceremony, the Omnisport Annex Stadium in Yaoundé, the Bepanda Annex Stadium in Douala, the Municipal Stadium in Guider, Young Sports Academy Stadium in Bamenda, and the Municipal Stadium of Nkovos in Eboloa.
Prenatal care has proven to be primordial for the well-being of mother and child. Unfortunately, some women fail to respect rendezvous, often resulting to an inevitable increase in child mortality. Muriel Ngaket tells us more.
A recent survey in Cameroon has revealed that out of 200 pregnant women, more than 100 take their first antenatal visits after the due date. This state of things inevitably do affect infant mortality in Cameroon. The most affected regions remain the northern part of Cameroon. Doctors highly recommend antenatal appointment.
Les visites prénatales sont très importantes pour les femmes enceintes.
Prenatal care is important for pregnant women, and I would even go further to say they are important for women even prior to the pregnancy stage. A woman should go through antenatal care because it is necessary for her to take vitamin B9, which is important before the pregnancy.
Avant qu'elle ne tombe enceinte.
The main cause behind this is the absence of finance for most, while others indicate a long distance between the hospital and their homes. However, in spite of these factors, the importance of a medical consultation during pregnancy cannot be ignored.
Pourquoi est-ce qu'il faut faire des visites? Alors tout simplement, premièrement, parce qu'il faut détecter ce qu'on appelle des grossesses à risque.
It is important because it permits the doctors to detect any complications on the part of the mother and of the child, or even any complications that could threaten the lives of the mother and the child. They also help to protect the child if the mom has a problem or an infection, like AIDS or any other infection. It permits us to take the necessary measures so that the child will not be affected.
Toutes les mesures nécessaires pour que l'enfant ne soit pas atteint.
In the suburbs, women nearly never undertake prenatal care, and the outcomes vary between low weight at birth, prenatal and child mortality, premature pregnancies, amongst others. Nevertheless, doctors recommend booking first appointment at the dawn of the pregnancy, this in a bid to preserve the life of the mother and her child.
And to news out of Cameroon, at least 306 persons have died in the eastern coastal province of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, from intense rainfalls resulting to floods, while in Nigeria, 154 have died and an estimated 4,800 people have fled their homes after gunmen attacked 5 villages of the Plateau State. Developments of these and more right ahead. We begin our tour on the African continent in South Africa, where death toll resulting from intense rainfall in the eastern coastal province of KwaZulu-Natal has risen to at least 306. Authorities in the country reported that the level of rainfall had reached an unprecedented level in more than 60 years, causing great destruction and the collapse of a number of bridges, as well as damaging at least 248 schools. The situation is quite disturbing. Disaster management teams have been working tirelessly to evacuate people in areas where mudslides occurred and where buildings had collapsed. Dozens of homes have been washed away and several roads carved in, hampering transport and rescue operations. Meanwhile, a dam in KwaZulu-Natal has been flooded beyond capacity, making it impossible to operate a hydroelectric generator, a situation described by President Cyril Ramaphosa as a catastrophe of enormous proportions. Mr. Ramaphosa on Wednesday visited bereaved families in the eastern coastal city of Durban, where he promised state aid to a family that lost 4 children who died under the rubble of a section of their house that collapsed. Away from South Africa, at least 28 people have drowned after their boat capsized in northwestern Nigeria as they tried to cross a river to fetch wood. Regional government official Aluyu Dantani has said most of the dead were teenage girls after emergency workers and volunteers retrieved their bodies from River Shagari in Sokoto State. The cause of the incident has not been identified, but boat mishaps are common in Nigeria's waterways, mostly due to overcrowding, particularly in the annual rainy season. Let's remain in Nigeria, where death toll from attacks on villages in the country's plateau state has soared to 154, and an estimated 4,800 people have fled their homes fearing for the violence. Groups of gunmen on motorcycles overrun 5 villages of the plateau state, shooting people in every direction, burning houses and killing at least 100 people. Reacting to the incident, Nigeria's Minister of Information declared these armed criminal groups are working with Islamist extremist rebels, which have been spreading terror for the last decade in the north of the country. Authorities have further announced the immediate deployment of basic necessities such as food, water, and blankets for the displaced. We've come to the end of the evening edition of News on My Media Prime Television. Coming up at exactly 7 p.m. is Prime Hour with Leonard and his team. My name is Fon Quiter. I'll meet again tomorrow for another edition of What's Making News in and out of the country. Till then, have a blessed evening in the company of more programs on The African Eye. Good night.